Okay, sorry for any background noise that you may hear. Yep, as soon as I say that, my refrigerator starts going. This is gonna be a video about Tim Tebow, obviously, as you can see on the screen. And I gotta say this, man. Sorry, I gotta say this. Tim Tebow's exit from the NFL was surprising. A little, I'm trying to think of a good word to describe the uneasy, because it felt like he was forcibly removed. It felt like he was blackballed. It felt like teams just wouldn't give him a chance. After he had that phenomenal run in Denver, where Denver was dead in the water. I mean, anybody that watches Undisputed heard Skip talk about it. I remember watching it back in the early 2010s, and I thought Tim Tebow was such an enigma. This dude could not throw the ball a lick. Like, he really struggled with his mechanics. Okay, he is the perfect example of a quarterback from college that wasn't really a quarterback. Like, he wasn't really a quarterback. Like, his abilities on the football field, although he could throw the ball a little, his talent clearly wasn't really passing the ball. Tim Tebow was a fullback, to be honest, but he had a knack. Tim Tebow has the one thing that I can say the only person I've seen have it was Tom Brady, and that is the will to win. Like, Tim Tebow had that thing that people missed with Brady. That thing, that hunger, that desire, that win at all costs, I don't care. Because when you remember Brady's, for anybody that's been watching Brady for a very long time, like I have, when you remember the early years of his career, he wasn't a 250, 300-yard passer. This dude would pass for 150 yards and one touchdown, no picks, and that's it. And his teams usually win. He wasn't a stat guy. I think this is what, for true football fans who really love the game, like myself, Tim Tebow was a joy to watch, because it's like, you don't understand how this dude was able to make it happen, but he was able to make it happen. But for people who love the beauty, and let me change that. For people who love to romanticize the spectacular in football, when it comes to 70, 80-yard touchdown throws and breaking off 40, 50-yard runs where you're just running over everybody, or watching a kick return or a punt returner make like 10 or 15 guys miss. Like, that type of thing. Like, the casual fans love the spectacular, love the oh my God moments that the NFL has to offer. But Tim Tebow wasn't that kind of player. He wasn't going to give you those kind of plays. His plays was far more subtle, far more untheatrical, but in the fashion that he would win those games was spectacular. And as if you could really see the beauty in what this guy was able to accomplish in that 1 year where he actually got a chance. Now, I say all that to say this. I think he was blackballed. Do I think John Elway had anything to do with it? Sure. John Elway did not like Tim Tebow. And this is why great players should not run teams. I won't say they shouldn't own teams, but they shouldn't run teams and they shouldn't coach teams. Because for you to find a great player who was a great player and turn him into a great GM or a great coach, you're really pushing it. We've seen all-time great players become coaches and do an okay job, but it's not like they're the greatest coach ever. That rarely happens. Usually the best coaches who were former players are usually the guys on the bench who spend most of their time attached to the coach's hip, learning as much as they can. But John Elway should not have been, like, I don't understand why he is allowed to run that team. Because he allowed his personal feelings, his personal disgust with Tim Tebow to cloud his judgment. Now, they did move on. They got Peyton Manning to come there, and they went on to win the Super Bowl. But it's not like it was because Peyton Manning was the reason they won. But they were able to get Peyton, which gave them like 3 or 4 great years or whatever. But I don't know. I felt like in order for him to do that, he had to sacrifice Tim Tebow's career to get that done. And now that he's back, I mean, people are playing a race card where it's like, you know, he's only getting a job because he's white and all this other shit. But let me say this. Tim Tebow was hired by Jacksonville. He was hired by Urban Meyer to be a mentor. Okay? He's the guy that Urban Meyer brought in, that Urban Meyer can trust. Urban Meyer believes in. I mean, you can look at, and this is not a joke about his religion or whatever, but you can look at Tim Tebow as the Jaguars' new team chaplain if you want to. He's going to be there to inspire the players. He's going to be there to give some pointers to Trevor Lawrence, because despite what you may believe, Tim Tebow was a phenomenal quarterback with an unbelievable work ethic. Okay? You would have to have a work ethic to be as competitive as this guy was. Now, sure, for the first, 50 minutes of the game, Tim Tebow was below average. I mean, this dude was horrible. But Tim Tebow had to be one of the greatest late game, I'm talking, you know, the last 10 minutes of a game. He's one of the greatest clutch players I've ever seen, man, in such a small sample size. Okay, now I said all that because, like, I just gotta, preface the argument with who I saw Tim Tebow as. All right, now let's hear what they have to say, and then I'll give my opinions on what they're saying. But let's go.
About Tebow,
Skip, I don't really know how you tell someone media don't cover me. He's just being him. I think the complaint that a lot of people that had some in the locker room, some upstairs, is that Tim Tebow did things the day of the game that they didn't necessarily like. They felt that all the things with your foundation could have been handled away from the game. So come game,
that's narrative, man. They're trying to find. When Tebow was forced out, they needed any reason they could to justify him not getting a job. See, people want to talk about Colin Kaepernick not getting work because, like, for whatever reason, he's not getting a job. Tim Tebow was young. Like, he was at the height of his career. Tebow mania was like Linsanity, man. Like, I mean, it was such a massive thing that 1 year. It was such a massive thing, but it wasn't enough to get him work anywhere else. And when John Elway got rid of him, people needed a reason to demonize this guy. And I'm gonna be honest, man, I thought it had something to do with his religion. I still believe that. I still believe with the Jesus stuff and him singing gospels on the sideline and stuff like that. I mean, I don't want to go down that road, but I would say that could rub some people the wrong way. Okay? But there has to be more to why. Sure, it could just be as simple as John Elway hating the guy and John Elway having connections. And because I'm going to be honest, man, I think these GMs and these owners, they talk to each other and they agreed sometimes to just, hey, let's not hire this dude, man. Let's force his ass out. And I wouldn't be surprised if John Elway made some calls. John Elway, for some reason, he really did not like Tebow. I don't understand why. There's really not a good enough reason. You don't think he can play the game well enough? That's fine. But it almost felt like a personal attack on Tebow. And I would love to know. I would love to know why. Why he disliked this man so much. And it couldn't have just been because his game was ugly. Because that's what people say his game was. It was ugly. So it couldn't have just been that. But I would love to know. So back to what Shannon is saying. Tim Tebow did not, sure, he'll stop and he'll sign things for fans to take pictures because those are the fans. They pay his salary. They pay, these teams are worth what they are because of the fans. I mean, what kind of dick would he look like if he just walked away from the fans and not signed stuff and not took pictures? And I mean, players do all kinds of stuff before the game, man. Look at Juju now. Juju Smith-Schuster is dancing in the center of, for TikTok before the game, man. Like, players do things before the game, so that's not good enough. That's not good enough. And if you're going to justify banishing a guy, banishing him so much that he literally had to run to another sport, and he still wasn't able to make way. Sure, people could say, well, Tim Tebow just wasn't that good of a baseball player. The guy was a regular minors player for whatever reason. I mean, just the name alone for the Mets would have brought in a bunch of fans to come in and see this kid play. Even if he was batting pinch or some shit like that. Just bringing him in, let's say you're blowing a team out and you bring him in as an alternate or some shit like that. Fans would love that shit. Fans would buy tickets just to watch it. So for them to just hold him into the minors, man, it felt like they were trying to bring some buzz to the minor team. But I don't know, man. It felt weird. It felt like that whole situation was just weird. I mean, you got a guy who is literally a marketing gold mine, and you're just keeping him in the minors for whatever reason. There are plenty of baseball players that probably shouldn't be playing baseball at the major level, but they do. So let's not act like Tim Tebow was that bad of a player that you couldn't have him sitting on your bench. Even just having the camera pan by the dugout to see him in there would generate money. I'm sorry. It just would, bro. Like, that's a marketing gold mine right there. So, not only did he get banished from one sport, he was forced to play another sport, man. Just go somewhere else. But I don't know. I feel like this is narrative, man. This is nothing but narrative that they use to push to justify why this dude had to go. But
hey, we especially skip that position. That position requires you a little bit more. It's a little bit more cerebral. So they expect you to okay, we ready to go play. His teammates look at
bullshit. There are plenty of players who aren't as cerebral during the game. Like I said, man, with this being a social media age, man, players nowadays, it's all about cameras. It's all about putting themselves out there. I mean, how many times do we see a professional athlete? Look at Cam Newton. How many times are we seeing Cam Newton on fucking social media posting workout clips? Nigga, are you really focused, or are you too busy trying to make yourself look good while you bench press or some shit or run on the treadmill? And are you really focused? You can say that about any player, man. You can say that about any player, about not being cerebral enough, about not being. Do we see other top-notch great players doing this as much as we see some of the bottom rung players? No. No. Cerebral, but that's just the age we live in now. And Tim Tebow, whether he was doing this or not, man, I mean, it's not like we don't see other players. We even see Tom Brady doing it from time to time. We don't see the top of the heap guys do it as much. But we do see them from time to time doing it. Does that make them any less cerebral? We see players do this shit. I mean, people looked at Juju Smith-Schuster 2 years ago as one of the rising stars of the NFL. And this dude is always on TikTok. Look at Antonio Brown. He was he was, in my opinion, the best wide receiver like 3 or 4 years ago. And he was always on social media. So, it's whatever, man.
Skip, I'm looking at my team, okay? I need you ready to play, bro. Not up there, taking pictures and shaking hands. That's fine and good. I'm glad you're charitable. I'm glad you're giving back. But today, let's make this about us. And I think that was the biggest thing. But I don't know what Tim Tebow can say.
I hope he's not talking about the Broncos because they sucked ass, man. Excuse my language, man. They sucked. They were terrible. They were 1-4, 1-5, whatever. They were 1 and out of the goddamn playoffs. And then what happened, man? You throw Tebow in there, and Tebow have horrible starts to games, but then he'll come back and he'll lead you to a victory. Next thing you know, you're 7-4. You're on a 7-4 run, and you win a playoff game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Come on, man, go somewhere. Like Denver sucked, man. Denver sucked. They sucked before Peyton got there. They sucked before Tebow took over. They sucked after Tebow left. They sucked after Manning left. And they still suck to this day. Like, that team is just a suck-ass team. And if it wasn't for the fact that they had that phenomenal defense, Peyton Manning and Tim Tebow, we probably wouldn't even be talking about the Denver Broncos. And that defense was only great for like 2 years, maybe 1. I mean, that Super Bowl run, that defense was dominant. But other than that, that defense wasn't shit. And that team wasn't shit. So let's not act like that team was world beaters, because they weren't. Go somewhere, man.
Media don't cover me. Media, if I say something, don't print what I say. I don't really know what they want him to do. Maybe they're saying he didn't do anything, which means, Skip, he didn't scale back some of the things that was garnering the kind of attention that he was getting. Maybe that's what, but I don't really know what a player. LeBron can't save media at all. He LeBron. Tom Brady, he's Tom. So the media's going, he does, the media's going to come. So maybe scaling back some of the things that he did on game day, maybe that would have curtailed some of it, but
that's a lie. Shannon knows that's a lie. The media is going to come for you. If your name has buzz, the media is coming for you. It doesn't matter what you do before the game, after the game, during practice, whatever. The media is going to come for you. As long as fans are talking about you, as long as your name is generating interest, they're going to come for you. And Tim Tebow was at the height. He was at the height of the NFL at that point. Like, as far as publicity. So the media was going to come for him. There was nothing he could do. Like, come on, man. Like, he did what he needed to do in the moment. He took care of the fans, because the fans will love you long after the game doesn't care anymore. The fans will love you. So he did what he had to do, man.
I don't really know what Tim per se could have done other than that. I mean, you guys not going to come out and speak and say media don't do this stuff. I don't think he's going to do that. But I just think the thing is, a lot of people that I talked to said it was like Tim relished, he cherished it, he looked for the attention.
He talking about John Elway. That's his source. That is his source. I bet money on that shit. His source was John Elway, because John needs an excuse for why he let Tebow go. Now, John Elway kind of redeemed himself with that decision by bringing in Peyton Manning, and they eventually won a Super Bowl. But I couldn't understand. I'm pretty sure there are a bunch of people out there that didn't understand why the Denver Broncos just let him go, and why Tim Tebow was ultimately forced out the way he was. Okay, but bet money that it was John Elway. His source is John Elway.
And he did not, he wanted more of it. And that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way.
Probably John Elway. And let me say this. If this is true, if what he's saying is true, that Tim Tebow's behavior with the fans rubbed somebody the wrong way, I wouldn't be surprised if it rubbed Elway the wrong way. Because like I said, look, former players, they love attention. This is why you'll see a former player come out of nowhere. Former player you haven't heard of or seen in years will come out and say something because it gets their name out there. Oh, Barry Sanders said something, or Bill Russell said something. Like, people will talk about it. It will generate buzz. And a lot of these former players, they love the attention because they had all the attention when they were playing. So when they retire and people stop talking about them, it's kind of, for some of these athletes, man, it's kind of lonely. It's lonely living like that, where you were once at the height of everybody's attention. Now nobody cares about you, or it feels that way. And I wouldn't be surprised if, like, a lot of these former players, man, they want credit. They want to feel like they are the best because they have that competitive nature. And when you're not playing, the only way that you can feel like you're the best is if people are talking about you in positive ways. And John Elway could have been jealous having a guy on his team who was because John Elway was the Denver Broncos. There was nobody more famous before or after John Elway. So, I mean, it probably felt like John probably felt a little jealous, a little resentful that Tim Tebow was as endearing as he was with the fans, with the media. I mean, it could have made John Elway jealous. That actually could be a good reason. I might have just figured it out. That actually could be the reason why he let him, like, he hated it. I'm not going to say he hated. Why he didn't like him as much as he did. Because you could just, when John Elway talked about Tebow, you could just look at the seething, like, it's almost like he had an abdominal pain every time he said a word, man. Like, he just looked like he did not like the guy. All right, so let's continue, man. I'm at the 20-minute mark. Let's go.
Yeah, I agree with you, Shannon, in terms of what could he do? If he held a press conference and said, don't cover me, don't print what I say, don't let me be a distraction, it could come off as arrogant, it could come off as insincere, or it could come off as ungrateful. Like if he talked about not liking Tebow Mania or all of the hype, and it could come off as disrespectful to his fans. So I don't know what he could have done. Colin Kaepernick has not said hardly a word, since he's been out of the league, or even when the controversy was going on.
Because whoever got their hands in his back ain't forcing words out of his goddamn mouth. No one cares. I don't care about Tebow. Nobody's thinking about Tebow. Okay? Nobody, like, to be honest, man, I would love to see Tim Tebow. Did I say Tim Tebow? Colin Kaepernick. Damn, I'm sorry. All right, no one cares about Colin Kaepernick. I would love to see Tebow before I would love to see Colin Kaepernick line up behind the center. See, people don't. All right, let me say this real quick, man. And I don't want to turn this into a Colin Kaepernick rant. But Colin Kaepernick, before all that black stuff, like before all that, Black Lives Matter stuff, Colin Kaepernick was horrible. I mean, after Jim Harbaugh left the 49ers, Colin Kaepernick was a shell of himself. Like, he was not at all that fierce dual threat quarterback that he was when Jim Harbaugh was there. It seemed like after he took the job firmly away from Alex Smith and Alex Smith left, and after Jim Harbaugh left, Colin Kaepernick was just not the same player, man. And that's why his ass was on the bench. But then he started this kneeling stuff, and the owners got called racist because they wouldn't play him. It had nothing to do. Nobody talked anything about him not playing well. It was because he was standing up for black rights or whatever. So that's why the owners wasn't playing him. So then they put his ass out there because the fans kept asking for it, and he played well that first game. He played well, but then that's the problem with professional sports. There's always another game after. So he didn't play so well. I mean, and he didn't play so well down the stretch. And all that shit was for naught. And you stop hearing Tim Tebow. You stop hearing Colin Kaepernick talk after he wasn't playing so well. Colin Kaepernick sucked. He absolutely sucked. And that's why he's not the quarterback. If he was Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers was doing all that bullshit with kneeling and all this other stuff, Aaron Rodgers would still find a job. I don't care with who. He would still find a job in the NFL. But he is not Aaron Rodgers. And he is not that good. Tim Tebow, on the other hand, Tim Tebow wasn't given the opportunity to play. Tim Tebow got his chance in Denver, maximized it to the best of his ability, and then after that season, he was unceremoniously thrusted out. And no other team gave him a real chance. But what about the Jets? No. The Jets brought him in because he brought media attention. Everybody who watches football know Rex Ryan was a media whore. He was an attention whore. When he first signed on with the Jets, his first goal, his number one goal was to send a message to Bill Belichick. Because he knew that was going to get everybody talking. That was going to put the cameras and it was going to put the spotlight on him and on Bill. That's who Rex Ryan is, and that's why he brought Tim Tebow. You really thought he was going to put Tim Tebow in over Mark Sanchez? No. Mark Sanchez was the guy that got him the 2 AFC championship games. I mean, Mark Sanchez wasn't the reason they got to the games, but he was the quarterback, which, quarterback is supposed to be the most important position on the field. So that's why I'm saying it that way. But trust me, Mark Sanchez was not the reason. It was that damn defense. But him being a quarterback, that's why I'm saying led. I'm sorry, I'm over-explaining. But he was not going to put him in over Mark Sanchez. Mark Sanchez was Ryan's guy because Mark Sanchez helped solidify Ryan as a true competitor at head coach. He was Ryan's guy. And until it ended so laughably bad, Ryan was going to stick with him. All right? He was not going to put Tebow in over him. So what he do? He brought Tebow in and he tried to use how we see Taysom Hill was being used with Drew Brees. That's how he was trying to use Tim Tebow. And it just didn't work out because Tim Tebow is not a gadget guy. He's not a guy you bring in some flex situation and he's only playing about 5 to 10 snaps a game. He's not that guy. He's a quarterback. He prepared his entire career to be a quarterback. Yeah.
And yet if he were brought back to a team, obviously it would be a distraction just because of what he stood for and what he stands for. And so I don't know what Tebow could really do. I haven't seen him go out there and hunt for the publicity and hunt for the fame. And here's what
because it's bullshit. It's conjecture. He's not doing that. He is not doing these things. It is narrative to keep throwing shit at his name, to have people questioning his motives, which again reinforces, well, maybe that was the reason why John Elway had to let him go. No. When you watch Tim Tebow, and it does not seem like he's faking or a fraud, he seems to be a very well-intentioned guy who is super religious, who's very nice, very polite, very PC. I mean, this dude is the poster child for what the league is trying to be nowadays. This dude is the poster boy. Nice, super religious, very, very white collar. Or blue collar. Very blue and white collar. That dude has 2 collars. Blue and white collar. This dude works hard, but he's also super friendly and he's very media friendly. Like, this is the perfect person to be at the forefront of your league, man. Because, he's like the perfect individual. He's not a terrible person with a drug habit that nobody knows about. He's not beating women. He's not abusing dogs. Like, he's not doing shit like that. And he seems to be a very nice guy, very humble, but hey, I guess that's not enough, man. All right, I'm done, man. I just sat here and ranted for 30 minutes. Anybody who's made it this far, which I doubt they did, thank you. But hey, look, man, I wish the best for Tim Tebow, man. I am rooting every time the Jaguars play, I'm hoping I see Tim Tebow scored a touchdown today because it's going to say F you to John Elway and everybody else who decided to turn this man from the quarterback that he was into a circus sideshow. But, whatever. Let's go.